Hey everyone, it's Ivan. So I'm recording this after the rest of the video. I just wanted to cover a couple things. So people requested a more in-depth process video for the Vengevine template that I posted a couple weeks ago. I actually recorded like a live commentary as I was doing it, but I haven't posted that anywhere yet. So I'm just going to be cutting that down into 6 different parts, I think, just covering different parts of the card. So this one is just covering the borders of the card, and then the next one will be like the title and the type bars and that kind of stuff. The commentary on this may be somewhat slow since there's 6 hours of footage total across the 6 parts. I couldn't really edit everything down to remove all the ums and uhs and pauses, so I'm sure I'll get better as I do more of these, but for this one, just bear with me, I guess. It's more for the people who want to follow along and would like some tips for building their own templates. So for this, I'm using Photoshop. I use Photoshop for all of my proxies, but if you're using GIMP or Paint.net or some other free alternative, a lot of these concepts will transfer over, but when I mention like keyboard shortcuts and that kind of stuff, it probably won't be the same. But most of the things you'll probably be able to follow along even if you're not using the same exact program that I'm using. Those of you who have Photoshop knowledge might wonder why I'm doing certain things that I do. Like here at the start, I'll be using a circle selection tool to make rounded corners instead of using the smoothing selection tool. I use the methods that I do so I can have more control over the exact diameter of the corners that I'm making, whereas like smoothing the smoothing selection tool doesn't always give you exactly what you want, whereas if you use a circle selection, it'll always be perfectly round. And this will just cover making the black border, the corners, and some of the artist info, might link at the bottom, that kind of stuff. I guess the foil stamp could have fit in this video, but I ended up saving that for a later part for this template specifically, so that'll be in, I think, part 5 or something. So that's not in this one, but it will be there for the future. Anyway, that's all I have to say, so here's the video. So we're going to start with the image size. So most people making proxies will do 2.5 by 3.5 inches, 300 pixels per inch. That's fairly standard. That's 750 by 1050 pixels. That's probably what you'll see on most proxies on a lot of scans of cards, like on Scryfall. I think their scans are about that size. This is anything over 300 is a little excessive for printing, but it's just kind of nice. So I personally do 600 pixels per inch because I'm kind of crazy. And then technically cards aren't 2.5 by 3.5 inches. They are 63 by 88, not pixels, millimeters. 63 by 88 millimeters, 600 pixels per inch. That's what I do personally. So it's that big, 1488, 2079. Most people, 750 by 1050 is fine. So we're going to create the new thing. I'm going to make a new layer and delete the old background thing and then fill it with black so you can actually see what I'm doing. So I'm going to use the circular selection tool, and we're going to go in and make the corners. So there's going to be a corner layer above everything else that cuts out the corners so it doesn't look like you have a square card. So standard cards will be 3 millimeters. There's going to be a little bit of math here at the start of the video to get the borders exactly right, but that's the only that's the only math related thing. So standard 3 millimeter radius, which will be, when you click and drag, it'll show you the inches. I don't know, there might be a way to change it to millimeters, I don't know. but I'm just gonna use Google and convert it. So 3 millimeters, 0.12-ish inches. So if you click and hold, you can make these ovals. If you hold shift, it'll stick to a perfect circle, which is what you want. So we need a 0.12 inch-ish radius. This is showing us the diameter, so we need 0.24 inches, or just under that actually. So we're going to do that, 0.238, and then it should just stick to the corner like that, and then we'll hit delete. And now we're just going to want to cut out all this other crap that we don't need. And then you can actually just select this and then Control Shift I to invert the selection. So it's going to select everything but the thing you just selected, and then delete. So now you've just got a corner. So now we're going to duplicate that and just put it in all the other corners. So you can do Control J to duplicate stuff faster, and you can also hold Shift while rotating to rotate in increments of 15 degrees. Otherwise it's going to just go freely. So you want to stick to 90 degrees. And then once we get that in the corner, then we can just invert, select all these, merge them together, which you can also do with Control E, and then invert them so they're all white, which is Control I. So now we have, it's kind of hard to see, but I'll make a big black layer so we can see it. So now you have the corners. So it actually kind of looks like a card now. So next, we're going to want to make the black border. A standard magic card border is about 2.5 millimeters. So that's 0.1 inch-ish. So we're going to go with that. Select, modify, contract. So if you do contract, it'll make your selection a little bit smaller. You want to make sure that's checked because you have the whole canvas selected. If this is off, it won't contract where you have the very edges of the canvas selected. So 0.1 inches. If you're doing the standard 750 by 1050, it'll be 30 pixels because you're 300 pixels per inch, 0.1 inches. For me, it would be 60. So contract it by 60, delete, and there you have the standard magic card border. For me, I like my borders a little thinner. If you've seen any of my cards before, you probably know that. So I'm going to go with 30, which is going to be half what a normal magic card border is. So now we want to fix this because that just does not look good. There's going to be some math here. 0.138. Hopefully this looks right. I didn't do well in math, so I might be wrong. Control Shift I to invert your selection. So if we just left it like this, it would be like just a circle. But we want to invert it so that we have the area around it selected. And then we just want to fill in this area. And by the way, when I'm changing my brush size, you can hold Alt and then right click. If you drag side to side, it makes it larger or smaller. And if you drag it up or down, it makes it more blurry or sharp. So there we go. That looks right. I don't really want to have to do that on all four corners, so I'm going to select everything else and delete it. Actually, let me cut that down a bit. So now I'm just going to duplicate this, rotate it 90 degrees, put it in each corner so that we have the full border. guess I should name my layers. This was the corners, and now I'm going to merge all of these layers so they're all one. There's these gaps in it, which are simple enough to fill. Just make a selection and transform it, drag it down to fill in the empty space. So now we've got my thin border, except on the bottom, we're going to want it to be thicker so that you can fit the artist information, and I put my URL down there and the little foil stamp. So I'm going to make a copy of this layer and then just drag it up so that'll make it a little thicker. We want it to be about, I'm just going to make it exactly twice as thick. So that's exactly where it should be, and now it's twice as thick. There's a little rendering error there, but so I'm going to merge those layers, and now we have our frame. I assume yours will look different. I don't really want you to follow exactly what I'm doing. Make whatever you want your own thing to look like. But you might like the thicker borders better. You might want to skip this whole thing entirely if you want no borders. So next thing will be putting in the info down here. That's what I'm going to do next. I'm going to name this layer border and then drop some text in. So artist, just using the text tool, and then I'll change the color to white. My font, I think I want that in Bellerin, which is the standard Magic Title font. This is available all over online. Some people have remade it, and then Magic started using it on their website, so people ripped it off the website. So this is out there. You can get it. It's called, the font's called Bellerin, and then there's also Bellerin small caps, which is what I'm actually going to use for the artist. So there's the artist name. There should be a little paintbrush logo. If you look at a real card and zoom in on it, you'll see that this little paintbrush thing. I'm not going to bother looking for a high quality version. I'm just going to remake it, basically. So I just took this card scan, popped it in here. I'm going to erase everything but that little logo. And if you want to, you could just scale it up and put it in, but I feel like that's going to look a little messy. So what I'm going to do is just remake it, basically. Kind of trace it a little bit. So I'm going to drop the opacity down so you can still see it, but you can see where you're drawing over it. New layer, and I'm just going to kind of trace this thing a little bit. So I'm just going to do half of it, and then I'm going to cut it in half and mirror it so it looks the same on both sides. I'm just going to take that little top bit and transform. You can do Control T and then flip vertical, and that will do that. It might have been a little thick. Yeah, maybe a little high. I think that looks pretty okay. I'm going to merge those and then erase this bit a little bit. All right, and now I'm just going to erase that bit in the middle where it should be gone. I'm dropping the opacity down so I can see the thing under it. And now we're just going to follow where that thing is, and that should be about good. It might look a little messy down here, but it's pretty much unnoticeable from a distance. I feel like that still looks a little weird. Oh, yeah, that's not really curved. It's not supposed to be. Just gonna round that off a little bit. And this seems a little sharp. But yeah, that's pretty good. It's sort of off center. So I'm gonna move it like that. That seems pretty good. Yeah. Those are a little low, I think. I'm gonna move them around, delete that reference thing, and that seems pretty good for the artist brush. If you don't want to do that, you can just rip a scan or find something online. Now I'm gonna put my URL in. So just copy that and then hyphen.com. I had it in a different font before, but I don't know. I feel like it looks better being the same. And actually our power toughness box is going to go over here, so we'll probably want it around here, to the right of where the foil stamp will be. And, you know, all this could change. I'm not merging any of this, so we can change all of this in the future. I'm going to put all of that stuff into a folder and call it border. So now we've got the border and the corners. Thanks for watching, everyone. The next part will be coming soon. I'm hoping to post one a day this week, probably. I realize this isn't the most interesting one to start off with, but I hope it was helpful for those of you who are following along or working on your own templates. If you're interested in more of card design, proxy design, that kind of stuff, I have some cool stuff planned in the future, so subscribe and keep looking out for when the next video will be. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.